Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. Welcome to Toastmasters Club, Pune Northeast. I am Meenu, the Sergeant at Arms for this meeting. We are going to have a wonderful educational session today. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. But before that, let me read out the mission statement of Toastmasters. The mission of a Toastmaster Club is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communications and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And before we proceed, let me set few ground rules. Please turn off your noise-making devices or set them on silent mode. Please keep your microphone on mute unless it's your turn to speak. Maintain a broad smile throughout the meeting, and you can use the emojis or thumbs up and clap to react throughout the meeting. So now, please welcome our Madam President for the opening address. Over to you, Madam President, Toastmaster Kamya.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Meenu, for that energetic start, and a very good afternoon, dear Toastmasters and dear guests. My name is Kamya Parab, and I am the president of Toastmasters Club of Pune Northeast. I welcome each and every single person over here for our Sunday meeting. Today, we have a very special meeting with a very special keynote speaker among us. Please help me welcome Toastmaster DTM Brillian.
Good afternoon, everyone.
He is an ardent public speaker and trainer. He is the recipient of REX Fellow instituted by the United Nations. Professionally, he is a Chief People Officer with Times Professional Learning and EdTech Division of Bennett, Coleman and Company Ltd. He is a Toastmaster since 13 years in Region 13. He is D98, District 98's first district director. He has helped build more than 100 clubs across the world. Currently, he is holding the position of Vice President membership in All Elites Toastmasters Club, and he is a member of Bombay Toastmasters Club. He shares life lessons in the form of short videos titled as #Brilliant Tips, #Friday Ke Fun Day on YouTube, and has recently shared a podcast titled #Leader Slip. So I encourage each and every single one of us to go and visit everything and learn from it. Today, he has joined us to conduct ISC, means International Speech Contest educational session, and to share valuable insights. The educational session will be followed by question and answer session. So I request everyone to note down the questions, and they will be answered by DTM Brillian at the end of the meeting. DTM Brillian, thank you for joining us and conducting this beautiful session with us. So now I would like to hand over the stage to you, and all the very best. Thank you so much.
Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
It also means that I'm audible. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. From whichever part of the world you may have joined it, I'm sure you're all excited today, because the moment you talk about contest, the first thing that comes to our mind is the World Championship of Public Speaking. And I was thinking about what to do, because this is a session that I've been conducting for a very long time. And every time I go to a new club, I try to bring in a certain element. And this time I thought it's critical to talk about telling your story. And that's what it is all about, right? We are all stories. Whether we like it or not, each and every one is a story in itself. So let's understand, how do we get better at being a storyteller? So if you focus on the right thing, the end objective can easily be achieved. Unfortunately, many of us focus on winning and then create the other elements, which leads us to disappointment, failures, and of course, you feel that this is not the place for you. But let me tell you something very interesting. If you are a storyteller, it's not important to win. It's important to make sure that you're impacting lives, and that will lead you to becoming a champion speaker. So let's all understand, and this is based on multiple experiences, my own and other fellow Toastmasters who have shared it with me, to make possible that I could share a session about telling your story. So are we all set? This is what happens, right? Each time the VP says the ISC is about here, we start running around. Mere liye speech chahiye, I need a topic, I need to do this, and dundo re sajna, dundo happens. But if you're really serious, the preparations begin much before the VP education announces it. And for me, what has always worked is taking help of Daya. He's the one who's able to find out everything, right? Daya, pata lagao. He can find out the best speech for you. He can find out the topic. He can find out the entire setting. But in real life, we don't have Daya. That Daya is we ourselves. We need to be that Daya who has the capability and the ability to identify the topic. And the first thing that comes to our mind is, how do I select the right topic? How many of you have this issue of selecting the right topic? Yeah, I can see a few hands up in the air. Others, I'm very happy that you don't have a challenge with that. But when you're talking about ISC, World Championship, it definitely matters, isn't it? Then we have had so many sessions on how to write the winning speech. Now, it's good. Someone else can write for me. Let's say Radha decides that she's a very good speaker. She's a very good writer. She writes a speech and gives it to me. Right? I have asked Kamalji to select the topic, Radha to write. Both of them are experts in their own fields. So what I have done is I have taken the best of two worlds. But then comes the challenge. It is me. I am brilliant. Right? Will I be able to justify what Kamaljeet has decided and Radha has written? The answer is no. For a simple reason that it will not add credibility. Right? Now think about it. Your pizza delivery happens in 30 minutes. And this session is about 40 minutes. And in a sense, when you start to put your thoughts to apply what needs to be done, you just get about 20 minutes time. And that is where lack of preparation is the culprit. So I asked Daya, Daya, tum topic kaise pata karte ho? Daya said, yeah, good, let's look at something. Engineers in the house? Yes. Arre, koi bhi aisa forum nahi ho sakta jahan pe engineers now, right? So engineers, we have all seen this. You know what this is, right? The Venn diagram. Don't ask me when this diagram was made, but this is a Venn diagram. It is about 3 circles. We are all thinking 3 circles are easy. Topics you love, topics you know, topics your audience cares about. Now this Venn diagram is very important for all of you. You will see there are about 8 spots that have been identified. Spots, yeah, jo bhi bolo, whatever it is, right? The one that stands out or the outstanding number is 8, which means sab bakwas hai. You forget about it. Who the cares? That kind of topics. No one really is interested. You don't like it. You don't know anything about it. The audience also doesn't care. So, bhul jao. Then you have 7 topics you love. You love it. So it's like that la 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 la. मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. But no one cares about it. You may not know anything about it. and most important, your audience, they care a damn about. So usko bhi thoda sa piche rakh dete. Then you have 6, which is topics you know. There are a lot of things that we know, right? Inorganic chemistry भी बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ी थी. Basics of electrical engineering भी अच्छे से पढ़ा था. I know that topic, but do you love it? Hand to heart? Probably no. बोलना है तो बोल देंगे, वो ऐसे गन पकड़ के किसी को बोलते ना कि ये रैंसम नोट है पढ़ो. That's how it will be. And then there is 5 topic that the audience cares about, but you have no clue and you don't love, which means it should be a speech which should be given by Radha because she is very passionate about it. She is the one who's written about it. I should not be delivering it. And then there is the sweet spot where topic you love and there is topic that the audience care. But the problem is, मुझे उसमें सब कुछ नहीं पता है. I need some more. जो बोलते हैं मसाला चाहिए. मसाला के बिना मसाला चाय is not interesting. Until and unless you blend that in to make it topic you know, it will not help. Now there is topic you love and topic you know. यानी कि why I love pink color. Kamya will say a great 20-minute to 30-minute speech on that, but who cares, right? Because the audience is not interested in pink. The audience is, it's like an engineer going and delivering a session to a room full of doctors. The audience is not there. You need to talk to the right audience. And then you have topics you know and the topics the audience care about, which means masala bahut hai. Everyone is engaged, everyone is hooked, but उसमें जान नहीं है. जो बोलता है ना कि you don't see that passion. So if Radha gives me something which I know something about and the audience cares, but I don't love it, I can deliver a speech and get away. But there is no passion in it. Until and unless, because if you go back to what I said, it's your story. There needs to be an element of me in that story that will make it passionate. And this is the perfect speech, which is the sweet intersection of all 3. The problem is we will never be in that one zone. And it's a reality, right? ऐसा कोई भी speech नहीं है जहाँ पे हम 1 पे आ जाए. So we will always play within 1, 2, 3, 4. We will try to, वो बोलता है ना कि if you don't get an opportunity to get married after falling in love, you get married and then you fall in love. That mode पे तुम चले जाओ. So start thinking on these lines when you want to think about topics or elements that the audience will want to. Ones where you are also passionate, even if there is small amount of passion. Passion is something which can be brought in, but your knowledge is critical. You should know about it. And that's why if you look at the projects that we have at Toastmasters, we have research your topic, right? It forces you to move out of your comfort zone, research on topics you may not know, so that you become knowledgeable. Gaining knowledge is easy. Falling in love is also easy, right? अगर किसी चीज को शिद्दत से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसे मिलाने में मदद करती है. It's a cliched statement, but it's true. It's about forcing yourself to start saying कि यार हाँ, yes, and that's how you move ahead. And this is not something which I have come up with, but a person called as Andrew Dugan, who's created this, and I found it very interesting to share with all of us. And that's why it's found its place. Now, English is a funny language, right? You heard Amitabh Bachchan talk about it so many times. But are you content or are you content with the content? A grammarian in the house will start thinking, kya bol gaya? Right? It's a play of words. But are you really content with the content? Because it's like Sunny Deol in that movie. Topic तो मिल गया, लेकिन उसको मसाला डालने के लिए कंटेंट कहाँ से मिला? टॉपिक मिलती रही, लेकिन कंटेंट नहीं मिला ऑनर. मिली तो सिर्फ टॉपिक. अभी टॉपिक लेके तुम क्या अचार डालोगे? Right? You can't. I have a fantastic topic which says change yourself in 3 days. मेरे लिए टॉपिक तो मिल गया. राधा ने मुझे मसाला भी दे दिया, but Am I really content with that content? Probably no. I need to feel that passion. I need to be that Sunny Deol who gets into it and says, boss, mujhe ye खींच के निकालना है बाहर. And you need to do your homework. Sorry, we have passed school long ago. College में भी homework आता था, but we need to do our homework. And that's why I said, don't wait for the VP education to tell you that ISC is just around the corner. You need to start preparing the moment you find something interesting. In the good old days, I used to carry a notebook. बस छोटा notebook आता ना, pocket. I don't know what it is called, a notepad. It's simple called as notepad, but आजकल के ज़माने में लोगों को शायद पता भी नहीं होगा कि ऐसे कुछ चीजें हैं. It used to be in my pocket all the way, all of the time. And any time I found something interesting, any note behind a truck, anything that I find which is a banner, I would note it down. Today you can use digital medium to write it, but I would still suggest writing makes a big difference. Now you have to start on identifying how do you do it, right? We've known about a lot of things, but how makes the biggest difference? But इसमें फिर आ जाता है कि क्या बोलूं, what, कब बोलना है. It is sure, but when I talk of when, the context of when is the story. When was the story? Where did it happen? The environment. Who is the audience? Why will they like your speech? And I'm sorry, but Simon Sinek said, start with the why, but I'm bringing in why at a later stage. Because you know your why, right? I'm assuming that you know your why. But my why here is, why will this story resonate with the audience? Transformation in 3 days. मैं किस transformation की बात कर रहा हूँ उससे कुछ फर्क नहीं है. But the topic is so catchy that everyone will want to know what I'm wanting to share. And anyone who's traveled in a railway train will always hear this announcements. यात्री कृपया ध्यान दें. Platform number 3 की गाड़ी आज 4 से जाएगी, and everyone starts running. What does it mean? It means that we need to pay attention. We need to stay focused. We really don't know. Unfortunately, today this doesn't happen in airlines, and they say it's a silent airline. And suddenly तुम्हारी flight छूट गई because यात्रियों ने ध्यान नहीं दिया. So when you want to focus, you need to focus on CSR. Now, what is CSR? We'll come to it. It's the grand opening. What is C? Build curiosity. And I'm sure when I said CSR, सबके दिमाग में बहुत सारी चीजें चली होगी. अरे corporate social responsibility. Yeah. So it's building curiosity in some form so that you hook, right? Audience needs to be hooked. Then comes an opening which could be startling. I'll share some of these. Now, what does startling do? चकाचौंध कर देने वाली opening हो तो, something which you're not expecting. If that happens, what do? You lean forward to say, अब क्या होगा, right? That's natural for all of us. We are human beings. I'm assuming we've not invited the aliens here for this meeting today. And rhetorical, we've all heard it. Rhetorical works always. So let's look at some things that happen. Why does it work? Any answers? You can unmute yourself and speak. Assuming we are all human beings, you can speak in any language that you're comfortable in. Why does it work? Why does curiosity work? Why does startling opening work? Why does rhetorical opening work?
Because
just imagine. Yes, Kritiraj.
Because that hooks the audience and makes them interested.
Absolutely right. First is
make them rethink, I guess.
Sorry?
Yeah, it make them rethink about what is going on, like brings the concentration back to normal, like if they're going somewhere back ahead.
Keith, you're an engineer?
I'm commerce student.
अरे
MBBA.
इसको बोलते हैं दिमाग की बत्ती जलाओ moment, right?
Right.
Mentos
Yes.
moment.
Yes,
It just makes them to think what is going to happen next, what is going to happen next, and they will
It's
keep
like,
thinking.
I am waiting for what's next. I want it. If you remember, any speech that can build that is a winner. I'm not talking about the trophy at this point of time. Trophy is the last thing in my mind. It grabs attention, right? It is not the norm. Suppose suddenly you are expecting, hypothetically, you are expecting, let's say, Kamya is supposed to open and she's delivering her presidential address. So instead of opening, she starts dancing. What happens? Everyone who was cross-talking suddenly stops and say, "Isko kya ho gaya? Ye kya kar rahi hai?" And everyone starts focusing on what is it, because it's not the norm, isn't it? If it was the norm, to bolta theek hai yaar, ye to hamesha aise hi karti. So you tend to ignore. So you need to create something which is not the norm, because what happens is, if you always start your speeches by saying bhaiyo aur behno, dosto aur dostiyon, it's cliched. No one will pay attention. You start with something that can grab the attention, and most important, as you rightly said, that it engages right from the start. That hook, right? अब वो hook आ गया है तो मुझे जानना ही है अभी क्या होने वाला. I need to know what will happen.
You and I are not very different from this flower.
What? All you all think smoking kills? Hey, loser!
Now look at the three different speeches. All three are world champions. Look at the way they started. A rose. है ना? Attention grab हो गया. Rose को लेके क्या बोलेगा यार? गुलाब से क्या speech बनाएगा? And then he breaks it. The speech goes on. The second, lights a cigarette. It's startling, isn't it? It's startling. अरे बहुत stage में ऊपर fire का ये लगा हुआ है. आज सब बल्कि सब भगा देंगे यहाँ से. So you are wondering where is it going? And then comes something which is not the norm. How many of you in this audience will actually do what Darren Tay did? Calvin Klein लेके जाके उस stage पे पहनोगे? नहीं भाई. I was there, and sitting next to me was Derek Wong, a past international director, and I said, I think this guy may win, because it was something which people had not expected ever. And then he built a story around it, right? So what happens is, you are so hooked. मेरे दिमाग में तो वो विनर बन गया. मैंने उसका स्पीच सुना भी नहीं था. नहीं सुना था, सच में नहीं सुना था, first time. But that's what makes a difference, and that's what makes you a winner. And again, I'm saying, don't worry about the trophy. It's about creating that impact with the speech. And Zig Ziglar had rightly said that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You start from wherever you are. Please don't compare. So I'm just looking at the screen, and whoever is here, I'm taking their names. So don't feel bad. Yes, you don't need to compare yourself to a Dhananjay. Heath, you don't need to compare yourself to a Darren Tay. Or Chintan, you don't need to compare yourself to Mohammad Katani. Why? Because they have their own unique styles, and you have your own style. You look at what you are, how you want to progress to the next step. Use your unique style, please. My humble submission and request, don't worry about CLKK. This is not the forum where I use it, but CLKK, चार लोग क्या कहेंगे, उसके ऊपर मत करो. तुमको लगता है कि ये चलेगा तो चला लो. Yes, use your mentors, use your counselors to get feedback, but don't worry about what people would say. If Darren Tay had thought about CLKK, he would have not been able to KKDS. करके दिखाया साले. Right? Now imagine if he had spoken about this to our forum, he would have said, "Hey, नहीं, ये नहीं चलेगा." Right? ये सब एकदम भलता कुछ भी, तुम काय तरी काय बोलता तुम्हें अब? असं काय हो? हाँ? ऐसा होता है ना? We start pushing that person in a different direction. But then he did it because it was his style. He was unique. So this word is very clear, right? What does it mean? I am assuming that you have OBCS. What is OBCS? An opening, a body, a conclusion, and a story. If you have this, you are there. You need to have a plot ready. I know you're in Pune. Pune plots are very cheap, but in Mumbai, it's very expensive. But I'm not talking about that plot. I'm talking about a plot for the story. Why is it important? Because as I said, it's not about what is it that you're going to say. It's about the impact you want to create. And hence the plot is critical. You need to have a sort of an approach on an anchor. When I say anchors, there needs to be people, characters, or situations that will create that pull. And most important, it should be written for the ear. What does it mean? मैंने आंख बंद करके भी अगर speech सुन लिया तो I should feel that I am in that speech. Many a times we become Shashi Tharoors to impress the grammarian, but grammarian se छोड़ो, audience की सोचो. You don't need to be a Shashi Tharoor. Sometimes simple words like एक फटका दूंगा ना, that resonates well. Of course, जिसको लगा उसको तो resonation आएगा ही, but it resonates well because I can connect the feeling rather than saying I'll give you a one tight slap. So you need to look at the audience and start relating it. Please, please, please don't worry about creating an impression. Don't worry about creating an impression. Focus on expressing yourself. The moment you express yourself, it becomes easier because it's not something which you need to remember. मैं ये सोचते बैठूं यश तो ऐसे मुंह फैला के बैठा है, मुझे तो लगता है कि इसको कुछ पसंद नहीं आया. So if I'm trying to impress Yash, then I'm losing the plot. I'm losing the connection. I'm focusing only on one thing. But if I'm here to enjoy myself, if I'm here to express what I want to, based on what I have learned, what I have experienced myself, I think I'll make a better outcome from that rather than focusing on impression. Look at what are the power statements or keywords in your project. Now, there is a golden rule. Golden rule is your power statement or keyword should be up to about 5 words. 5 words is zyada ho jata na, then it becomes easily forgettable. I see something in you. Full less and more. Right? These are very easy to remember. You don't need to think about statements. Think about how you want to reflect it. How many of you are vegetarians? Sorry to ask this, I'm not. Yes, Kritiraj? Vegetarian, okay. I am not fond of vegetables and especially not Loki. But it's like, it's a vegetable that stands out, right? In some form or the other. Why? Let's understand. For a speech, the Loki is this. You need to add life to your speech. The L in the Loki is life. Make sure it's original. It's not a story that Suchit had told me and I am replicating it. It is not something that Sunil has written and I am replicating it. Make it universal. Punekar story works in Pune. Punekar story may work in Maharashtra. But once you move and expand the zone, will it work in Delhi? You have to start thinking of it. Yes, at a club level, at an area level, it may work. At a division level, still it may work. But once you move to a district level, will it be having the universal approach? Define your key message. I told you, not more than 5 words, preferable. But yes, people will have different opinions. My point is simple. If I have a key message, it should be there in the head till the end. It could be 1 word or up to 5 words, which works. And something which is inspirational. It is not something that every morning, pata hai kya, Chintan says, I wake up, I have prepare food, I do this, I do that. It's a routine ho gaya, isn't it? I need to talk about, and I think that's what Chintan says, "Arey, ye to mere life ke bare mein bol diya." No, Chintan, you are here because I can see you on the screen. That's until and unless it is inspirational, people will not really take you for value. And it's important that लौकी को छिलना जरूरी है, वरना उसका skin is not good, isn't it? So let's understand what it is. What do you mean by adding life? मतलब उसको क्या 2 घूंट पिला दूं? पोलियो डोज नहीं ना, 2 घूंट जिंदगी के नहीं, वो नहीं है. When I say life, it means personal stories. You need to talk about some life lesson which you have personally experienced. I cannot talk about what Chintan experienced and pass it off as my life lesson. I have not even experienced 1% of what he has. Any incident that made a difference. Now, these are some of the areas where you can bring in life to your speech. And please, 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 while we do not use the library to check if this is original, don't indulge in plagiarism. There have been instances in the past, I don't want to take names, where people have actually lifted stories from American movies and presented it off as their own. Don't. कहीं ना कहीं किसी ने तो देखा होगा ना. The important thing is, if it is original, you don't have to learn. मतलब ऐसे तो नहीं है ना कि अरे यार ये क्या हुआ था इंसिडेंट, मुझे याद रखना पड़ेगा. नहीं, मुझे पता है, because it happened to me or I experienced it. And you will be comfortable with the flow. Suddenly there is a yellow signal coming up. What do? I need to rush through. कौन सी चीजें मैं उड़ा सकता हूँ और कैसे मैं comfort करूँ, so that I don't miss the powerful ending. And universal, it's critical that you are not restricting to geography, because the moment you restrict to geography, then your audience gets disconnected automatically. What is the key message? I told you 5 words or less, easy to remember and aligned to some action. How do you inspire? What is the impact it has had on you? Why are you passionate about it? If you remember, it's all about the passion. Passion nahi hai to, it's a speech for someone else. And most important, what are the connected learnings that you want to look at? Now, these are some of the finer elements. Now, it need not be serious always, right? Everyone can bring in humor. Humor is the easiest way to break monotony. You can talk about your slips. You can talk about how you messed up and what lessons you take back. And please remember, credit. If you're taking a reference of someone else, mention. I was having a conversation with Kamaljeet. Kamaljeet also feels good, and I'm adding credibility to my speech rather than saying I spoke to someone. Right? Express yourself. I've spoken about it. I'll not reiterate, but impression pe mat focus karo. And always remember, stories should speak to emotion. We may not realize it, but let's experience it. Fantastic story, isn't it? We've all heard about this so many times. It's all about how you say it. So please remember, emotions matter. Now you're connecting to an emotion. Why? It's always about the heart and the head. And anytime there is a conflict, people tend to look to what the heart says. What is the narrative here? Are you talking to people's emotion? If you are, then it results in higher engagement. What is the common ground here? Anyone wants to take a guess? What was the common ground? The common ground was, it's a beautiful day and I cannot see it. And I doesn't work, right? Because he said, I am blind. When you talk about I, it's about you. It's about individual, not about us. Then comes the most important part. When it becomes magical, people will start nodding. They will feel connected. And then you are in a better position to sell your story. Please remember, you don't need to make a conscious effort. But when you tell your story effectively, you can sell your story as well. The contrast from what it is to what can be. It's a beautiful day. I am blind. I cannot see it. So you're changing a potential to influence the emotions. And most important, it's about moving from sympathy to empathy. Sympathy में रहोगे तो वो ऐसे रहेगा, ठीक है यार बेचारा है, इसको दे दे यार, है ना, सॉरी किसी का नाम नहीं लेता हूँ, सो ब्रिलियन यार इतनी बार कॉन्टेस्ट कर लिया ना, इसको इस बार विनर बना लेते. You don't need sympathy. It is about flipping the burger, right? If you don't flip the burger at the right time, it will burn and you will not enjoy the taste. Make people want it desperately. Why did people start giving money? Why did people start laughing or clapping when Darren Tay put on that underwear and went on? Right? So please remember, you need to tell the truth. Truth always sells. It's not about creativity. It's about credibility. I can create something and tell, but it's not credible, doesn't work. But truth alone will not work. Such kadwa hota hai, right? And it's difficult. So make sure that you bring in your articulation, how you say it. Is it a story well told, or it's an information that you're giving? We've been in Toastmasters. Anyone who's gone through the traditional manual will know there is a project called as How to Say It, project number 4. Please read it. It will help you. If you don't have access, I can share a copy. I have it. And the landing of the content is important. Communication alone doesn't help. It needs to land well. It's a beautiful day. Everyone says yes. And then they suddenly realize, I can't see it. I am blind. Please help. The content is just there. And there is a call to action, right? Give money. It's not their intention, but people started feeling empathetic towards the person and donating. And then if you have to look at how do you fit in for an ISC speech, these are some of the tips that I would say you should talk about or keep in mind. One is the word count. 640 words is the average that we have seen that works for a 5 to 7 minute speech with pauses, with applauses taken in. Start thinking of laugh per minutes and words per laugh. Kitne words ke baad laughter aata hai? Because it helps you engage. Use of you versus I or me. The more I talk of us, inclusivity, it brings the audience closer to me. What is your foundational phrase or the keyword that you're using? What is the frequency? You don't need to keep saying it every time, but you need to reiterate at the right frequency. It could be 5 times in the speech. It could be 2 times in the speech, or it could be just once with that power. Make sure your transitions are smooth. There are credibility that you bring in. You ask a question, a rhetorical. The rule of 3 always works, right? Past, present, future. मैं बहुत परेशान था, फिर मुझे Toastmasters मिला. अब मैं can speak in English. I don't care about the language, but I know how to communicate. What you're doing is you're using the rule of 3. While we may not all believe, but we can use vocal variety. Do you know that the red card has all these sounds? Now look at the impact. When I'm loud, there is a different kind of engagement, and when I'm going slow and soft, there is a different engagement. Now these are some of the references I'll share with all of you. Don't worry about anything, but as I said, your prime reason to compete is to make a difference. Just do it. You need to just do it by expressing yourself. With this, I would like to open the forum for any questions that you may have. If I have the answers, I'll definitely share. Otherwise, we can get the audience as well. Yes, Chintan.
Sorry for that. So first of all, thank you for that amazing, insightful session. And I have attended multiple sessions. All have similar theories, but the way you have made it simple, and there were very profound lessons which were really found in a master class. So thank you for that amazing session. My question is, the pointers which you have given would definitely help us to craft a good speech. And my question is the next step, because in between speech and delivery, no matter how great a craft is, we can mess up, or a messed story can be enhanced by the delivery. I want to learn what
Yeah.
you suggest to a naive speaker like me, how to rehearse that so that I can internalize the speech and it would come out better than what I crafted. Thank you.
Fantastic question, Chintan. And unfortunately, we didn't have the time. Otherwise, we would have covered how you deliver, how you practice on this. But I would say you start with visualization in terms of saying you record it. Okay, today we have all the means in a virtual environment. You record it, get feedback from yourself, get feedback from your immediate family. If you have a mentor, reach out to your mentor and share. I'll tell you, when we did not have virtual meetings, one of the things that I would do is I would record myself, I would upload on YouTube, I would wait for 2 days to pass, and then I would go back and check the video to see how am I doing. And then I would say, oh, this is one area where I want to change. Now, this will come with constant and continuous practice. So let me tell you, practice ka ek problem bhi hai. So we have heard that practice makes a man or a woman perfect. But if you practice something in a wrong way, you become perfect in doing it the wrong way. So you need to get that sanity check from a mentor to say, ye dekh lo, or get someone who's no clue about Toastmasters. Give them your speech and say, please provide feedback and say, kya bakwas hai. I used to do it with my wife. I would share it with her and she would say, kya bakwas hai, koi bhi sunega nahi. And then I had to scrap the entire speech. And it happens, right? Because the feedback that you get from the audience is critical for you. Practicing is the second step. But once you have prepared and you practiced, share it with someone who's never heard your speech. Let's say Arjun has never heard my speech. I share it with him and he gives me 3 tips. And for me, while we follow Toastmasters, but when it comes to evaluations, specifically for speeches, I don't get into what you've done good. I'll only write areas for improvement. And generally, I write it as points saying that this is how, and I'll write down as I feel, okay, this was your opening. This could have been better. Second, this is where I felt. And it is all about how I felt. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not. So get feedback from people who has never heard you ever. Otherwise, there is a bias, right? People will always say, "Arey, you know what? Sanat ko to maine itni baar suna, ye to acha hi kare." So there is a bias in my giving feedback to him. If Sanat has not, Sanat's speech has not been heard by Renuka, she'll just look at it and say, "Arey, Sanat, you know what? I felt. It helps." Hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
So I have a problem with eye contact because I get self-engrossed in my speech.
Yeah, Kamaljeet. Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the biggest problem with all speakers. We all get fascinated and we say that self-love is the most important part for all of us. Don't worry about it. Eye contact is very easy. And I learned it the hard way. You don't need to get worrying about eye contact. In a virtual world, it's the camera lens. Camera lens is your only contact. Now, you can decide what you want. So I had a yellow man. Today I have a dog, which helps me stay focused. So I can keep this as a prop to look at the prop and say, this is it. In a in-person environment, if you're not comfortable with eye contact, look at the forehead and use a Z pattern. It's not, for example, let's say, Chintan, Sunnil, Shakil, Yash, ऐसे नहीं eye contact. Eye contact is talking to one part, going to the second, coming here and closing. Otherwise, you will be like, oh, typewriter पुराने ज़माने का होता ना, you don't need to worry about that. If you are not comfortable with eye contact, look at the forehead. And not more than 3 to 5 seconds per person. Because you will also get conscious and the other person will also get conscious.
Next.
I have a question. I feel that in most of my speeches, I keep forgetting some part of my scripts. So how to deal with that? That is my first question. And the second question is like how to add emotions, like as you said during your speech during your presentation, that it has to be story has to be based on the truth. So like, does it really require that? But like, how the audience will get to know that whether it is truth or whether it is untruth?
So this is where the credibility part comes in. So I'll give you one example. If you have heard the 2013 World Championship speech of Presian Vasilev, there is one member of Toastmasters who can exactly replicate that speech. Every action, every sound movement, every emotion. But there is no credibility because I can see that it's an effort that you make. So when you're talking about your own self, you don't need to remember. If you remember what I said, it's your story, right? And suddenly you forget, who knows your story? You know it. You don't need to tell the audience that you forgot. Sometimes it happens, many a times, in fact, not sometimes, that you may skip certain elements and you want to jump onto it. It's okay. You don't lose out anything, but it is important for you to be comfortable. You need not remember the lines. You need to remember the concept, what you need to speak. So sometimes it happens that I had decided on talking about X story, but then I realized the audience is talking something else. So I throw that story and I bring in something else. It is dynamic, it is risky, but at the same time, what I would say is, please make sure that you are comfortable. Don't worry about SCL because you are the one who knows the story.
Yes, next, Toastmaster Kirtiraj.
Hi, Kirtiraj.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Brillian, for such a fantastic session. My question is in line with the previous question. At times, what happens is some speakers are great at impromptu speaking. Some speakers are great at like learning things and then vomiting in the speech, right? So that is where like if considering the audience which is present, or like at times if we are forgetting some parts of it, how to keep the like starting and the end, that is the message or whatever body we have in our speech, that thing intact, though how to make it free flow like an impromptu speech, even if you have rehearsed it well, still if you want to add new elements to it without compromising on the quality of your speech.
See, it will require practice, to be very honest, Kirtiraj. I will not say that it's easy, and being impromptu also requires a lot of practice. So you need to start practicing it in bits and pieces. So for example, today when I was talking, something happened on screen and I used it. So you use that as a prop to bring in elements. And let's say, I'll give you an example. One of the speakers started with Zandubam as a prop. Okay. In Mumbai, Zandubam works. But when you are outside, that Zandubam joke did not go well. Now that affected the speaker because the speaker was expecting the audience hasegi. Nahi hua. So what do you do? What do you do in that situation? You have to say, yes, I know this is something which may not work for you, but works for me. So what you have done is you have changed a situation from a potential disaster to bringing it back to you so that you are comfortable and you move on. Now, people in this audience may or may not know Zalim lotion, right? So actually I told the speaker the same. I said, instead of this, you should have said that, I know people don't know about Zandu balm, but they know about Zalim lotion more than it. And that would have changed the entire context. That joke would have been repurposed. So you need to start bringing in small elements in your project speeches so that you become comfortable, and impromptu speaking will automatically come in as a part of your natural, I would say, self, rather than which looking as a forced thing in the speech.
Sure. Toastmaster Kamya.
Thank you so much, DTM Brilliant, for conducting this session. I have two questions. One of the question is, you said something about project 4. I didn't get that. So I request you to repeat that.
So Toastmasters had a project in the traditional manual called as How to Say It. It is a project on how do you effectively use small words, small sentences to create visual imagery. And one of the best project speeches. Every single time I get an opportunity, I recommend people to go and read those project objectives. So I'll definitely share it with you, so you can understand what it is about, and it will help everyone.
Toastmaster Meenu.
So you had 2 questions, right?
Yes, sorry about that. Okay, so my second question is, like, we say that know your audience, but when you don't know your audience, how will you select a topic and how will you present it?
Very difficult choice, to be very honest, but you go back to that same Venn diagram. Try to understand. At any given point of time, you will not be able to satisfy 100% of the audience requirements, right? That is not possible. But think of it, if you are in the audience, will that topic work for you? Now, I'll be very honest, there are cliched topics where people talk about some death happening in the family or personal. I don't really like those kind of topics, because you are trying to play on the sympathy part, right? But if you change it in some form, it helps. Now, I was a victim of one such project speech. I am a vegetarian, sorry, pure non-vegetarian. The evaluator is a pure hardcore non-vegetarian, and the speaker comes and delivers. I am a general evaluator, he is the evaluator. Delivers a speech on saying, give up non-veg food, become a vegan. Okay. Now, if my personal biases would have affected, my evaluations would have been very bad. But if you remove the Toastmaster from that context, both the evaluator and I, we are switched off, because nahi sunna hai bhai, isn't it? So it's difficult to create. But then if you can blend that to say, ask a question, how many of you are non-vegetarians? I will raise my hand. You change the context, right? So I have Radha also raising. So what I have done is I have engaged. Then I talk about, okay, why do you love? I am trying to engage, and then I get into my topic, rather than starting with saying that, Brilliant, you are a non-vegetarian. I'll say, stop eating non-vegetarian food. I will not want to listen to it. But you need to find that sweet spot where you can get that foot in the door for your speech to stand. And it's difficult, but it will come. And there is no, क्या कहते हैं, रामबाण नहीं है कि ये speech बोला तो तुम जीत ही जाओगे, right? Nothing. As simple as words, as simple as being a loser to a winner, as simple as I see something in you, as simple as tomatoes and apple, can change the context if you're able to connect with the audience.
Yes, thank you so much. Toastmaster Meenu.
First of all, thank you so much, DTM Brilliant, for a wonderful session you had taken in this club. And I have 2 questions again. So as you said that we have to find that sweet spot about, audience, what they are thinking about, or what their likings or disliking, something like that. You said about vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So that should come as impromptu, right?
Yeah, ideally.
Should be prepared, like.
Ideally, see, you should prepare. It's, if you're an engineer, you will know that we are always used to if else, right? If this happens, this is what I do, else what I do. The problem is many speakers don't get into the if else mode. And especially when you are talking to a larger audience, you need to have something mentally prepared to say, if this doesn't work, मैं क्या करूँगा? Right? It's sorry, I'm using a Mumbai lingo. 746 की कर्जत नहीं मिली, तो मैं 82 की बदलापुर लूँगा. Why? Because I have an alternative and I know what I need to do. 746 is a 12 car. 82 is a 9 car. So I have to change everything. So am I willing to do that? It needs to be prepared. While it looks impromptu, as I said, I was mentioning to someone who asked me this question earlier, okay, how do I sound impromptu? You can't really sound. You need to continue to practice. Kriti Raj, right? It was Kriti Raj who asked. So unless you prepare yourself to have these answers, it will not work.
Yeah, right. My second question is, last time I had prepared, based on the theme. It was
Theme for?
I forgot. It was related to fun and what we had to talk. We had to give a speech on fun part, like comedy. But
Okay.
I had rehearsed, but I messed up in the speech. I forgot few fun elements and fun words which would create more impact. And I messed up completely. I didn't like my speech a bit, and I want to know that how we can work on that, because sometimes I feel that few things we have to remember as a element which can create more impact. So how can we implement or
Excellent.
inculcate in
Excellent,
our
excellent.
speech if that is not coming immediately or impromptu or yourself from?
So that is where the notebook will come in handy. Some things that you keep a note of, saying this is something which I can use. So for example, let's say suddenly you forget and you don't remember anything, you can become Johnny Lever and say bhoola. People will start laughing, right? And you have about 5 seconds to collect your thoughts and then tie it up back. Saying natural, yeah, I'm not Johnny Lever, but even I am human. So you are trying to fill that in. Use these elements effectively. And sometimes you may remember something written behind a truck. Buri nazar wale tera muh kala. Right? Now, and this is something someone said, I don't recollect who said it, but this person said, truck ke piche likha hua hai. Lamborghini ke piche kyun nahi likha hua hai? Now just imagine, truck wale ke nazar lagane wala kaun hai? Koi lagayega nazar? Are you aspiring to be a truck owner? First, Lamborghini ke piche to fir bhi chal jata hai. So now what has happened is my thought process for this has changed. So now I laugh at it and say, Arey, but for that person, it's important. And for the others, it became a source of humor. So when you get into a spot, sometimes you forget. It's natural. And I'm not saying great speakers don't forget. I'll give you one example. Don't quote me, but it is recorded. And if you get a hand on it, you can watch it. One of the district humorous speech champions forgot his speech on the division level forum. He pulled out a chit, read 2 paragraphs, and then continued. He went on to win. That's a different story. But I'm saying it is possible. It is natural. Sometimes वक्त हमारे साथ नहीं होता है, right? दिमाग की बत्ती नहीं जलती है. It's okay. But are you able to come back? How you are able to come back is what makes a difference. See, you made a mess, you know it. No one else knows it, right? क्या खिचड़ी पक रही थी किसको क्या पता? As I said, it's your speech, your story. So sometimes you can bring in those elements and say कि मैंने ऐसी ही खिचड़ी बनाई थी. इसमें मैंने जानबूझ के वो करेला डाला था. क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे डालना था. मुझे करेला अच्छा लगता है. Own those mistakes and make it positive. That's what I would say. And don't worry about others. Make a mistake, learn from it, move on. If you made a mess, it's okay. It's you who know you made a mess, right? You go back and ask for feedback, saying, how do I improve? What can I change on?
Yeah.
Thank you. Toastmaster
Thank you so
Virendra.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Brillian. Your speech means I have one word about you, that your speech is original. Seriously, means I have attended so many sessions, but you are brilliant. Means I was earlier I was on, means I have not opened my camera, but after your speech, in the middle of that speech, I have opened my camera also because yeah. Literally means we will take so many things like for the eye contact that you answered for Kamalji's question, that is also in my mind. So definitely I will see the forehead, right, instead of direct eye contact, which will definitely help me. Other than this, one part I would like to ask you that for me, when we go for a speech, which one is the toughest situation or the toughest time during the speech? So for me, it's when we are beginning, when we start. So means it's like first impression is the last impression. So first agar bigadta hai, then it definitely the confidence level would be down, right? So that is one thing. And other thing that I would like to ask you, means how you prepare your speech in front of mirror, or you prepare, means as you said, you are means upload your speech on YouTube channel also, right? But that is something after so many speech you can upload, right? Because means for me, I have a fear. If I will upload on YouTube, then someone will say, what is this? Means you are not having that much skill and or something. So that is negative mindset I have. So for that, so only two questions. One is means the toughest part and how can we overcome, and second is this one.
So to be very honest, I'll go with what I mentioned just about before you ask this question. Is it is natural that we may forget sometimes, we may mess up, but it's about how you come back, right? There is something called as a false start. We end up many a times with false start. Sometimes I start and then I realize, oh, मैं तो mute पे था. मेरी पूरी energy उसमें चली गई, and then suddenly I ask, please unmute me. Oh, उधर 2-4 seconds उधर चले गए. It is natural, so don't worry about all of this. You have to focus on what is the messaging that you want. So if you ask me, the toughest is not about the opening. The opening can also be flat, but if you are able to build that story and hook the audience, it is the key. So your middle portion, the portion where generally the audience starts saying, "Arey, to abhi standard cliched story hai," wahan pe chala jata na, that is where you need to bring the audience back to yourself. Use some hooks. See, मच्छी पहली बार फेंकने से नहीं फंसती है ना.
Right.
You have to put it at least once. नहीं मिला तो ठीक है. अगर first time मिल गया तो it's lottery. And second, with regards to practice, so let me be very honest. The way I practice is I just visualize it. I just assume, and there is a story to it. Unfortunately, time is not there. Otherwise, I would have shared it. But there is a project 5 in Toastmasters, which is about body language. And it requires you to use the stage effectively. And my speech, I had memorized the what you call space, because we used to have physical meetings, and I was here कि यहाँ से मैं शुरू करूँगा, ऐसे करूँगा, यहाँ पे ऐसे jump करूँगा, ये होगा, सब कुछ prepared था, and last minute venue change हो गया. Venue changed and वहाँ पे raised platform, stage था, and imagine you have already planned everything based on a flat ground, and this has changed. So how do you cope? But उसमें मेरे साथ tragedy भी हो गया कि मैं गिर गया, सच में गिर गया और यहाँ लगा. Okay, and उसकी वजह से जो पेन आया, मुझे उसमें brownie points मिले. Evaluator ने बोला कि the pain looked so real. So sometimes your mistakes can actually help, but I'm not saying it should happen. But how you practice is purely up to you. And when I said I post it on YouTube, it's a private channel where only I can see. I post it, and after 2 days I go back and check. If I make it public, it's up to me. And then again, if you are worrying about what others will say, you will not grow. And best case example is an app called as Star Maker, right? Star Maker, and I'm very honest, very candid. I am not a great singer, but I love to sing. So I go there, I keep recording, I post it. Sometimes I feel it's good, sometimes I feel it's bad. My family says, "Kya bakwas karte rehta hai pura din?" But that's okay. But I feel happy I'm there. And when I participate, and at least sometimes when you listen to that song, you feel, wow, ye wala part maine bahut अच्छे से किया था, right? That gives you confidence. And sometimes people give you feedback saying, voice mein ye ho raha hai, aap modulation change karo. Feedback can come from any source, but you need to open up to getting that feedback. Don't worry. If you're worrying and sticking to yourself, jab tak अच्छा नहीं होगा तब तक मैं नहीं करूँगा, नहीं होगा.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you so much, DTM Brilliant, for conducting this session. I got to know many points I've noted down. And the main thing which I got to know was the acronym technique, because of which I will remember most of the points today. including the project 4, which I will definitely go through. And thank you so much for coming here and giving us so many points, motivating us. And I'm very sure that everyone over here have pumped up their energy and they will compete in the contest. Not compete, but stand in the contest. So thank you so much. And with that, I would like to conclude our today's session. I would invite everyone. Yes, thank you so much, Toastmaster Meenu and Heath. Before that, we'll take a photo. So Toastmaster Meenu, can you do that? I request everyone to switch on their cameras.
Just for 1 minute, please switch on your camera. Chintan.
I wanna go for any emotions or emojis, you can go for it.
Yes.
So Toastmaster Brilliant, we have this thing for the picture. We put our emotions or emojis for the picture so that we go something creative.
We have DTM Sheikh Shakil sir.
I'd just like to thank you, Dr. Brilliant. So indeed, it was a great session for me, a learning experience for me. I just wanted to share that we were in the same hall in 2016 with when you were visiting and observing the world champions, because that time I was there as a club growth director elect from District 17. So indeed, a great pleasure and privilege for me to attend your lecture, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, DTM Sheikh Shakil sir, and for joining us and all our guests. I hope it was a very enriching and insightful session. I would also like to invite everyone for our Tuesday meeting. It is our 374th meeting, and we are going to have one more educational session. That session will be conducted by DTM Sriram. So I request everyone to join, and yes, thank you so much. With that, I conclude today's session.
Hi everyone, take care, stay safe.
But last from my side, Dr. Brilliant. So do you have any plan to